Welcome to day 206 of the 300 Movie Challenge. Today we watched the highest grossing film of July 2011, which was Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. Or in other words, the finale.
It's weird to think
Harry
about.
Potter.
Yeah, it's so weird to think that this is the finale.
When did
Only for now.
Let me look and see when actually we saw like the first one. Because I know.
Oh, you mean like the date?
Yeah, the date that we actually watched the first movie. I'm curious. Would be, let's see. Well, whenever we recorded that discussion, which was. Okay, so we were. That's 9 months ago, almost.
Wow.
So as of recording this, we saw the first one about 9 months ago. Again,
Wow.
it'd be, of course, more recently in terms of the posting of the stuff, but whatever, we're not talking about that. So, yeah, it's been a long time going through this.
Yes.
When we started it, it was with Lord of the Rings still there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, the first two were lined up like that. But,
I
well-
guess Alan, as the person who hasn't seen this movie.
I guess. The first third, so like up to when they actually get to they get back to Hogwarts,
Yeah.
is kind of hard to follow.
It is.
Yeah,
I was
that's
like,
it.
because the thing is, I was like, okay, well, we just saw part one not too long ago, and so I'm pretty sure I remember how that ends. But even as this was starting, I'm like, wait, what's going on? Who is that? Like, what? Like, I don't know. I was really confused at first, and then it seemed like once they got back to Hogwarts, it was like, okay, now I really get what's going on. They're gonna have the battle. Okay, fine, right? But it seemed like leading up to that, it was like it was like fast. So I'm wondering if maybe like it had something to do with them splitting the movie into two parts, where they were like, this is kind of the where they ended the first part was like, this is where we have to end it, but like they didn't really split that up that well, because again, that first part of this movie was like felt rushed, but I don't know.
Yeah, I would say so.
I feel like probably if they could have made it so that the first part of this movie was actually in the first part.
Yeah, maybe like,
Yeah.
I'm thinking,
But I think they split it up so that the first part ended with Dobby's death.
yeah, no, I get that. I'm just trying to think. I'm trying to think like what would be something that would still work as an ending of the first part. And the only thing I can think of is, again, maybe kind of shorten that first part just a little bit, and then have it go up through like them like trying to get into like the vault or whatever, and like the dragon that they bust out or whatever.
Yeah, I think that would have been
Maybe
a good
have that
ending.
be in the end. I don't know, but that's the only thing I can think of. But anyway,
That might be cool. Or maybe ending with Neville appearing out of the door.
we'll see. I feel like if they do that though, then the first part would be too long, and the second part would be just in Hogwarts, and that would be too short. And if they yeah, I don't know. Again, it's not a big problem. It's not like it was terrible, but it was just, I was kind of thought the pacing for that was a bit weird. But once they
The
get
pacing is a bit weird.
to Hogwarts though, I think it works quite well.
Yeah.
The only
The
the only quote unquote big, and it's not even big, I just mean like it's not like, one random thing that kind of bothered me was that whole like first Hogwarts fight is in the pitch black darkness and you can't see anything.
Yeah.
So I'm glad at least the last part of that was fine. You could see it fine, but like that whole first like actual battle, and I'm like, this would be really cool if I could see what was happening. So that was frustrating, because it reminded me of like Helm's Deep in Lord of the Rings, which is that big battle at the end of the second one.
Oh yeah.
But like that was at night, but like the lighting of it was bright enough so you could still see what was going on, right?
yeah.
But this was not quite like that, so it's kind of like, eh. But yeah, besides again the emotion and the characters and stuff like that, that works quite well. So I think I still ultimately I like the first movie, Phoenix, and Half Blood Prince the most. Still.
I think so too.
But then I think
Yeah.
this one is kind of like on that next tier down, along with Chamber of Secrets and Prisoner of Azkaban. Is kind
Yeah.
of how I
Yeah.
view it. So, I think I put it like just above Azkaban. But yeah, because I think the main thing is like if you took out the first third and just made the fight thing like a bit lighter, I'd probably have it more up near those other ones. But it's because there is a good lot of good stuff in that the rest of the movie. But I just think, especially the pacing of the first third, kind of just brings it down for me.
Mm.
But that, and then wait, I feel like there was something else I was going to mention. Oh, the whole thing about like Harry sacrificing himself, right?
Mm.
And like that's a good kind of I like that emotion of him like kind of realizing that's what he has to do and like going through with it. It's like that's good. But then I feel like they revealed that like, oh, he's like not fully dead yet, like too early.
Yeah.
Because they were like, oh, the spell, and then he's like immediately in like this, like limbo kind of thing. And then after they show that and that like, oh, he's clearly has a way to get back and be alive, then they show Voldemort playing him around, being like, look, he's totally dead, and it's like, but we know he's not.
Yeah.
So that was a
I
little
think
weird.
they should have put that part with Dumbledore like as a flashback, like when he woke up, it's like, oh, you flashback to the clean train station.
Yeah.
And then
or
they have the conversation, then like at the end that's when he like is like, yo, Voldemort, I'm gonna fuck you up now.
or something. Yeah, I just felt like that was kind of like a weird way to reveal that. But
Yeah. But I did like how they had like nods to the previous films with like the map, and then
Oh,
also
yeah.
when Ron and Hermione went to go get the basilisk fang and
yeah,
everything.
I like
yeah.
that. That was
In
good.
the chamber.
Because a lot
Yeah,
of
that was
I
really
think I
good.
mentioned like a lot of the earlier films because they felt like just their own kind of separate thing that felt disconnected from everything else.
Mm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm glad they did that. So that was good. And
Because
then
in a way, then it's like bringing importance back to those
Yeah.
films.
Yeah. and again, I do like the general characterization of everything, and the overall tone for like how things are going works well.
Mm.
Yeah, it actually I had this. We were talking about this yesterday, where I was kind of talking about how it's easy to criticize specific things, but it's hard to praise specific things,
Mm.
right? And so here I'm kind of in a similar. I'm just thinking about this where I'm like, I can't really like point to like any specific thing where I can say, oh, I liked that, but
Yeah.
I can point to several things that I say, oh, I don't like this, right? So it's kind of like, it feels like I'm just like ripping into the movie where I'm not. I overall liked it quite a bit. It's ranked decently high for me, but it's, but I'm really struggling to think of like specific. Oh, well, okay, there's one thing that I can talk about specifically.
Mhm.
So, of course, everyone knows the twist about Snape killing Dumbledore, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, after watching Half-Blood Prince, and because there was some confusion for us about like why how with like revealing the pact or whatever like too early in that film, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
And so I remember I was like confused about that a little bit, so I went to look on Wikipedia about that, for his character.
Mm.
And when I did that, I found out that he actually the whole twist in this movie.
Oh.
So
Yep.
I was spoiled on that before watching it. And
Oops.
two things about that. One, I'm upset I did that because I really feel like the reveal for that was really good. I just wish I actually
Yeah.
didn't know about it beforehand.
Yeah.
And the other thing though that I do give credit for is that this is not like it's not like a well-known secret. You know what I mean? Like this is not.
Yeah.
This is something. Again, everyone knows Snape kills Dumbledore, but no, I'd never heard of this as like being talked about before.
Yeah, okay. Let's talk about Snape as a
Yeah.
character.
Mm-hmm.
So Snape is one of those very divisive characters where people love him for basically what happened in this movie, or people still hate him because of
Everything else that happened.
everything else that happened, and like some people still kind of find his backstory a little bit creepy.
Mm.
So, my take on it is that it doesn't really. I feel like it doesn't matter if you like him or not, but the way that he was written is really good.
I can agree with that, especially since, okay, so we've watched many a movie where it's like, oh my god, my love interest died, blah blah blah, I am now going to avenge them, and blah 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 blah. Now they were a villain or something,
Mm-hmm.
or a hero, depending on the story. But in this case, Snape, like, lost Lily in the sense that Lily fell in love with James. They have a child together. They had a happy family and everything. So, but he still looked out for her and everything afterwards. So it's not like he's like, it's not like, oh my god, um, I lost her to, because then he would be like, well, he hated James and everything, but that wasn't what drove him to do everything that he did, and it wasn't because he hated James that he like was horrible to Harry and stuff, which in this film it's revealed that he always saw Lily and Harry and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, like,
I forgot my point with that.
well, for me, I see it as, again, especially regarding the last move, or Half-Blood Prince, and the base introduction, where, like, he doesn't, where he's kind of like a jerk to Harry, like, that makes a lot more sense, and that's given a lot of, and I think that is justified really well.
Yeah.
But I do understand the issue where it's like, I don't feel like it totally justifies like every minor action he did that felt weird in
No.
like the
Oh
earlier
yeah,
movies.
certainly.
And so that's one of those things where I'm like, but is that a problem? Right?
I think it does add a lot of complexity to Snape because like you also see a lot of complexity with Dumbledore too because he's also like yeah, Harry has to die and I kept him alive because like he has to die at this point.
Yeah.
And that's pretty interesting too because, Dumbledore was always like this this kind of untouchable mentor figure and I like the whole mentor archetype and they always die on me. But I think the characters who actually got a lot of depth in this like movie were Dumbledore and Snape because you see that Snape is not completely bad, but that Dumbledore is not completely good either.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the fact that you get both of that in the same scene is very interesting too.
Yeah. So, yeah, I can understand why some people would like be kind of mad at that.
Yeah,
him.
or like put off by both characters.
Yeah,
because,
but I don't say like I think, oh wow, now I love the characters and I didn't before. But it's an interesting kind of development that's it's at least stands out more. So
yeah,
because I think back to again when I was talking about the characters like originally, and how I said that like I just didn't think Dumbledore was that interesting, like way back in the earliest movies. And so this is kind of like, oh, it's another little layer to add into that. So they're like, oh, he actually did have more going on with him. So yeah, I'm still not 100% sure how I feel about it, but overall it's positive to some degree. But about that, but yeah.
I think me and you mentioned this previously too, and we talked about it before. But I wish Neville had a little bit more love in this movie. I know
Neville-
it's him like quite a bit, like a bit more than we normally did, because I don't think ever since the first movie we really saw much of him and
Yeah.
stuff.
He was around
Neville.
for like a while, but yeah, especially once you get into like, some of the more recent movies, I don't think you see him like at all. So that
He's
was kind of
super-
weird that they all of a sudden they're like, oh, he's actually back, and he's like pretty damn important. So it was kind of a
He's
little
super
weird about
like
that.
underrated and underutilized, which is a shame because I feel like he and Luna should have maybe gotten bigger roles because like Luna had a
Yeah,
pretty big
Yeah.
role in Order of the Phoenix and like part one of this movie, I think.
Yeah, with her getting kidnapped and everything.
Yeah, so I feel like instead of maybe making oh, I don't know who was even like in whatever slot they were in, like Cho Chang, for example, have importance, or like even if they gave Ginny a little bit more to do, I feel like they could have made their own trio, and then they could have like, they could have done some pretty interesting stuff
Mm-hmm.
because they're interesting on their own. Because like Neville is like the other boy who could have also lived, and then Luna is like she's really knowledgeable and she has all these like weird stuff about her, and then Ginny's the only girl Weasley, so that probably has its own baggage. And even though like a lot of people either like or don't like Ginny because she's kind of boring, I feel like if she had more like different people to interact with, it would have made her more interesting.
I think so too, because you don't really see her interact with anybody except the trio.
Yeah. So if she made her own trio with the other two, that would have been pretty cool.
Yeah, because I remember when like Luna was introduced, I'm like, okay, this is clearly the kind of aloof, kind of bizarre character, but like but I was thinking, okay, we're gonna learn more about her. She's gonna be more important, and we're gonna kind of learn something about her. Where it's like, oh, okay, now I understand why she's the way she is. That doesn't happen like at all.
No.
It's a shame.
So I at the same time, you could kind of say that like, does she really need to have a reason to be how she is? I mean, I guess not, but it seemed like they were.
I don't think she needs a reason.
But at the same time, it did seem like, especially Order of the Phoenix, they were kind of like they were really pushing on her and the fact that like, look, here's this strange person, well, you know what I mean? And so it's like, so
you don't really get to see her that much.
yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
Neville too. Like the only thing that I remember seeing in the Half-Blood Prince movie was just his trauma with how his parents died and everything, and that was it with Neville. And it's just like we could have gotten a little bit more about Neville and everything.
Yeah. So it's. I mean, okay. There's been 8 movies that have covered many minutes with many characters, and it's like I'm sure we can nitpick for hours. Right.
Yeah, that's true.
But again, the point of this is like, at the end of the day, what did you think of this as a whole, right? And overall, I liked this movie, and overall, I liked the franchise.
Yeah.
So
it was a good ending.
yeah, again, there were some iffy parts.
Goblet of Fire.
Yeah, mainly that. But it reminds me, it's something that's interesting where it's like, think about like the most popular like franchises, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna just list through some the most popular franchises and think about how like none of them are that good, like on an objective level. You know what I mean? Like for example, like again, this series, there's Goblet of Fire is kind of and there's some other character stuff that's a bit weird, like Star Wars, right? There's clearly lots of problems with Star Wars, right? Even the original trilogy has some problems. Like I'm trying to think of other stuff besides just like for example, all the Marvel movies, like they're not all amazing, right? I'd probably most people would say that most of them are not amazing, even though probably most are pretty good, right? And like you could get to, if you want to go into video games, like, are all Pokemon games amazing? No. Are all Mario games amazing? No. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's kind of this odd thing where it's like the things that are really popular are like good but still kind of flawed.
Yeah.
So it's just
because
interesting.
that's just how things are.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's interesting to kind of think about, like, you would think that like the stuff that's most popular would be the stuff that's like amazing and is is nothing wrong with it. You know what I mean? So
Perfect.
yeah, it's just this
I
weird
think
kind of
it's
thing about
that
that.
There is nothing really perfect.
Yeah.
It's kind of more of like how it's impacted you and how it's like a piece of nostalgia sometimes, or it's like something that makes you think and stuff too.
Mm.
Yeah.
Or it brings back certain memories and stuff also.
Yeah, so I'm glad part of the reason I wanted to do this whole giant thing was because there was stuff that I'd always been like, that'd be kind of neat to look at, and I just kind of never did. And so this was one of those things where recently I was like, I wonder if there was, actually anything I could get out of this, and I think there was. So, I have desire to like go now read all the books to see if there's anything I missed? No. Do I even have that super strong desire to like watch these movies again? Not really. But, if the opportunity presented itself, sure. I definitely wouldn't be against it. And now at least I can understand probably a lot of like random conversations about this now. So that's something.
I'm happy that I watched all these movies again.
I'm happy that I finished watching the series.
Yeah.
Since I watched half of them, like the 2 first and the 2 last ones, but now I have the context to appreciate them.
I'm happy that I watched them all relatively recently, like within a year.
Yeah.
Or within 9 months.
Yeah.
Instead of watching them off and on, like, ever since I was, like, when did the first movie come out?
2001.
Okay, ever since, like, first grade.
Yeah. Well, because, in 2001 to 2011, so it was about 10 years for the whole thing.
Yeah.
So.
And I wouldn't mind watching them again. Maybe after, like, after a little bit.
Yeah,
but...
no, definitely not
After a
right
little
now.
while.
Yeah.
Although I'd be kind of curious at least to like maybe watch like the first one again, just to kind of knowing what we know now, like maybe watching the first one just to see if you could pick up anything.
Analyze.
Maybe. Yeah, but yeah. So I'm glad we did this, and overall this was a good enough ending. I'll put it that way. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are no like main series, quote unquote, Harry Potter movies to look forward to anymore.
Yeah, I recently found a video by someone talking about Harry Potter and the Cursed Child.
Oh
yeah, I've heard it's terrible.
Yeah, and so after I'll link the video to you guys so you can watch it. Or actually, I already sent it to you a while ago, but I'll put it in our group thing. It looks pretty bad. Like the thing
it was like a stage play or something.
Yeah, so
too.
okay, from what I gather from the video, like the stage play itself is like pretty good in terms of like, the effort put into it and the production, so that's fine. But in terms of like as a story, it's like not good. And the thing is actually it specifically gets to like 2 things that actually like I specifically point out when we were watching through the movies that I was like, this is kind of weird and like I'm not sure if I'm okay with this. But then the movies like didn't do what I was worried about, and I was like, okay, fine. But then the Cursed Child actually goes into that in the exact way I was worried about it. And I was like, wow, okay. So, let me just tell you, there's time travel involved, like a lot of it. So, yeah, there's that, because I remember I kind of said about After Azkaban, where I'm like, I don't know if I like having time travel in Harry Potter, but then they like never dealt with it again, right? So that it's like the central part of Cursed Child, and then also Cedric's back, and he's important. So, and I'm like, really? Okay, whatever. So that's just kind of a thing that I have absolutely no desire to look into anymore. So whatever. But I mean, as you can probably guess, there are, of course, the Fantastic Beasts movies that we'll be getting to. I mean, there's... as of recording this, the second one is not quite out yet. I think it's out in, like, a couple of weeks. But... So, I guess we'll see how that goes. I don't know, like... Okay, because there was originally, like, if there was a Fantastic Beasts book, right?
Yeah, there was.
But is, like, this second movie, is that actually from, like, a book?
I don't know.
Because I just know I thought there was just one Fantastic. Let me look this up. I thought there was just one.
I think it's only one, and I think it's just like a novella or something.
Yeah, no, I knew it like wasn't. Let's see.
I feel like we're gonna end up with a weird, like, is this canon argument or something?
Well, no, I'm not saying I don't think it's canon. I'm just wondering, like, is it actually like, from a book,
Is
right? I
Side.
it's, I don't think so.
It doesn't seem like it.
It's hard to. I'm just looking at the base of Wikipedia here. But oh, I don't want to read that.
Development?
No, it
Written
apparently.
as screenplay.
Yeah, it sounds like that this is actually its own thing.
It looks like it. Oh, she had ideas for. She has
Well, yeah,
ideas
because
for a
she's saying
third
that
film.
it says that J.K. Rowling has written the screenplay for the second film and has ideas for the third. That's implying to me that, like, if she already had something written already, then he wouldn't say, I have ideas for something. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
right.
okay, it'd be actually kind of interesting then to see how that would work. But, well, that's in the future, so, in terms of
Yeah.
our movies, so.
Not really a spoiler.
Yeah, I mean, it made a lot of money, so whatever. But yeah, so I guess, well, in terms of the fact that we'll be seeing that in the future, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, have you guys either seen that?
No.
Okay, so we're all coming into that blind, so that'll be interesting.
Basically, like, all I know is that it exists. And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
it.
I don't know
That's-
any. Again, I knew that. I'm like, oh, this is a thing, and it's apparently like a prequel-ish, but not like a direct story prequel. Just like I don't think. But anyway, so yeah, that's all I know about it. But it's something we can look forward to. But anyway, actually, wait, am I right on this? Let me check the list because I think that's like a perfect segue. Because speaking of beasts, yeah, I'm right. Okay.
Ah!
Oh, okay.
Perfect. It's like I totally planned this. I didn't, but so yeah. Next movie is start of another franchise. 2011.
They keep coming.
2011, the year of the franchises.
Speaking of prequels, too.
Oh yeah,
Oh.
exactly.
True.
Yeah.
Perfect segue.
Actually, wait. Let me count. So we have. Yeah, counting. If we count Rio as like a franchise, then we are halfway done with the franchises of this year. Oh boy. Okay. Anyway.
We need to.
Yeah, I've talked long enough about this, so
Yeah.
see you for the beastly prequel that is to come.
Peace.
Bye.
Bye.